Hey, it's Chris. 10 games, 2024, my best. This was hard. This was a hard list to make, going from about 15 to 1. Lots of moving, lots of shaking down to the end of 2024. And it's fun because I think 2024, top to bottom, was an outstanding year. There wasn't anything for me personally that was like, whoa, head and shoulders above everything else. But I am just really, really happy with 2024 in general. This video, 10 to 1. That's all I got. This is going to be short, sweet, and hopefully to the point of why these games were and are where they are for my top 10 of 2024. The best for me. All the longtime subscribers are like, oh, geez, it's going to be short and sweet. Oh, this is going to be like a 50-minute video. Okay, number 10, right? Spectacular. The dice placement, tile laying, choose to every round, pass and play situation that this brings with an asymmetric board feature as well, with the different animals set collection, the towers if you can, the dice having to go low as well as having to go high. It makes it a very enjoyable puzzle. My wife loves this game, folks. And when we're playing games, can you get it to the table? You know, that is one of the main features of a majority of the games on my list. Accessibility matters, ease of play matters, enjoyment, fun factor matters, mechanically sound matters too. But if it doesn't have those other things, then it just doesn't work out. I really like this. This is an absolute outstanding game. Came out of nowhere for me. Thanks, Jeremy Howard. And it just absolutely hits the mark. It's not going to be for everybody. There's less control when you've got more players and you're passing these little boards with the dice and the tiles around. Some stuff just isn't going to come up in the color combination that you want. But it's fun, it's quick, it's easy to play, and it hits the table. So number 10. Number 9, didn't have to go very far for this one. Castle Combo, Pandasaurus. Again, expectations were rather low with this from a light filler card-driven aspect. You know, you've got 2 little rows of cards. Depending on where the little meeple is at, you get to draft on one or the other. You can manipulate it, you can buy, you can allocate into your little King Domino-esque grid of cards that you're creating. And it shouldn't be as good as it is, but like several of the others on this list, as well as in my 11 to 20, it just works in a combo-driven. It's thought-provoking, but not analysis paralysis driving, if that makes sense. And it's not going to give as much strategy, just like Spectacular isn't at the higher player counts. But that's where I am more of a tactical gamer rather than a strategic gamer. I like making the best out of what is literally in front of me, even though I may not have had 3 turns to see what that's going to be to plan. And from a card-driven aspect, and the weight that this one is comparatively, it's outstanding at all player counts, and so I'm very happy to have it in my collection and have it at number 9. Number 8, I had to pull out the whole thing for the top 10 video, right? Primal the Awakening. Yes, it's too big. Yes, the miniatures are way too unwieldy. If they were standees, Team Standee, it would be even better. The Foundations of Rome to Foundations of Metropolis comparison. But the combo-driven gameplay of fighting the bosses and the smash 'em up that you can do, the cleverness that this provides from a campaign cooperative style of things, is going to be mentioned going forward with other games of its contemporaries like Oathsworn, Aeon Trespass Odyssey, Kingdom Death Monster. That is earning its place among the hierarchy, and so I think you're going to see, as with a lot of these good games, people utilizing the combos, the mechanisms, and the nuances of this to use those in the future to stand on its shoulders in that way. Again, do you need everything? No. I mean, I don't think all of the expansions are necessarily of my preference. You're going to find the characters with the weapons and the styles that you're going to prefer, just like with any of these slightly asymmetric or faction-ish or anything along those lines types of games. But it gives a core experience, a campaign cooperative thing that I have been extremely, extremely pleased with as a whole. And yeah, it's not without its faults, but it overwhelmingly, the sum of the parts are greater than the individual faults that it can have, including the way too big plastic. And so I'm very happy with it at that for number 8. Number 7, don't have to go very far for this one because it's Leviathan Wilds. I go back and forth on this one. This one easily could have been much higher on the list. I just don't think it plays as well as some of my other cooperative games at lower player counts. There's not really any way to change the difficulty at, say, a 2-player count. So it really optimizes and plays best at 3 or 4, which is sometimes less accessible as a whole. But the creativity, the AI system for the Leviathans, the mix matching of the character decks to give your decks each a little bit of asymmetric difference is relatively fantastic. And I can't wait to see what they're going to have with the expansion that's going to be out hopefully sometime before the end of the year. And again, it's doing something different in a cooperative sense that really just brings me joy. You really do have a sense of control as you're maneuvering across these different shaped Leviathans with the AI system that allows you to flip around one card randomly, which means that its programming, while similar every single time you play it, is also going to be completely different in the order and the strength in which these actions are taken. And you get your chance to fight back. It's Shadows of Colossus, the board game, and it overachieves for what I was expecting to begin with, and it's outstanding. And so again, high recommendation. And I could easily see this one climbing the list as well going forward. Number 6, Arcs, right? Probably the most divisive on any list of 2024. You either love it or you hate it, except for me. I am still very conflicted because I want to like it more. I know I could like it more, and yet I'm just not sure what I'm going to do. I love conflict. I love Take That. I like games where you are rewarded for being the aggressor with a card-driven aspect. I am not always a big fan of the area control style. I am not always a fan of some of those elements. But like is said, this game is creative, it's innovative, and it's doing something different enough, but that it's also familiar once it gets to the table several times. The campaign adding more of everything that you want out of it in the first place. Arguably, well, what you may have wanted in the first place, not even just more, but just to begin with. The action selection mechanism is unique, but especially at higher player counts, a much lengthier time on the table probably makes it the most limited able to play game on this list by far. And that's why I could also see this either going up with repeated meta play and getting used to it and getting more streamlined, or I could see it going down just because it is harder to get to the table with a consistent group. And so that's why it got slotted here. The potential is amazing. And I don't know how this is going to fall out in years to come. Not again because it's not a good game, but because of the evolution of my playstyle, the group, and the people I play with as well. I love trick taking. I love taking control. I love maneuvering around, like I said, tactics, as well as a little bit of strategy, and just the unpredictability to go along with it. I mean, it couldn't not make the list. Number 5, we're going with Tir na Nog. If you're not familiar with this, tableau-driven, slight worker placement-esque to gather your cards to create your 3 lines of 5, with each with a different determinant of how they're going to be scored, mixing and matching between games to give you different combinations. The only thing I want is just more, right? More of those cards. Colors, combinations, numbers, trends, sets, all of those things to go along with this. Approachable, ease of access, easily explainable. The powers on the cards are clever, but they're not too overly complicated. It is a little bit mathy. It can be a little bit samey, but I'm hoping the extended shelf life will also be considerable with the upcoming release of the expansion as well, just like with Leviathan Wilds. If that gives it even more, well, expect this to stand the test of time easily and potentially be one of the favorites of all time. It's that good just from everything it provides, and I'm very pleased with it as someone who traded for their copy, wasn't expecting high things, and then exceeded anything I had planned to begin with. Number 4 here, Veil of Eternity. I'm cheating with this one. Veil of Eternity with the Artifacts expansion, because I personally feel like the Artifacts expansion is not a necessary must, but it elevates it to this point on the list for me. The clever gameplay of drawing cards, then utilizing them either as resources to pay for them or gathering them in the first place is highly underrated. unlike Far Away, it doesn't give you the backwards tableau, even though I don't mind that. It really allows you to mix and match, but limit things. And it even gives you a little bit of a catch up in case someone is getting slightly better pickings than you, because you can only have so many cards down in front of you on a turn-by-turn basis. Stealing a little bit with the artifacts expansion, it felt like, from Res Arcana, where you're going to be gathering little artifacts and getting them for one turn before returning them, and thus allowing just a little bit more manipulation. And the key point, though, with artifacts, as nice as that is it just gave me more cards in the deck as a whole, so every game didn't become a complete meta situation, and that you didn't find yourself going through and seeing every card, but not knowing what wasn't going to come up became much more, well, enjoyable, because you couldn't guarantee on that combo that you had won with previously. And for that reason, it's on the list. Now, I'm splitting hairs with the top 4 here because Veil of Eternity, as well as these upcoming next 3, I could easily see them being rearranged at any point in the next year or two and not be unhappy whatsoever. Number 3, Harmonies. This was a game where I said, you know, this is, comparison-wise, everyone says Cascadia. And it is, right? You're putting tiles down and creating patterns. Apart from that, yeah, you're not going to like the necessarily slightly more static market, but the dynamics of not only the building, you know, horizontally, but able to build vertically in order to cleverly play your points, it really just works. And similarly to Cascadia, one of the main points, it does not overstay its welcome. Do you rush the end of the game? Do you try and spatially optimize without having a 10-page rulebook of errata as well? So easily one of the best fillers, even just slightly more, because this one can become much more of an exercise in thinking, again, without being too much. It's decisive, it's tactically based, and it's ease of play. I can play it with anyone. Everyone who I've played it with has enjoyed it. And that right there, again, tells you a mark of a good game. Not doing something completely unique, but again, taking spins on things you know and doing them in a clever and thoughtful purpose and manner. Number 3. So what's number 2? Number 2 then, Agent Avenue from Nerd Lab Games. Again, the mechanistic approach behind this one, as an I cut, you choose, just catch me if you can, moving around a circle grid and moving the number of spaces as indicated by the card. But the more cards you have changes the number of the spaces you use when you gather that card, as you, on your turn, just play 2 cards from your hand, one face down and one face up. And then it becomes a bluffing, I know what you know, that I thought you knew that I know that you don't know sort of situation. And how clever can you be? How outthinking your opponent can you be in that regard? And frankly speaking, if that was just it, it probably wouldn't have made the top 10 this year. But the additions of the black market, which if you land on the alternate side of the board in the corner spaces, allows you to draft one of the completely asymmetric game-breaking abilities to go along with it, to not only change the powers that you're going to be using, the dynamics of the cards, the win conditions themselves. And it's just a hell of a lot of fun. And so it just has exceeded all of my expectations again. It's one that, as a mark of a good game, I can't stop thinking about after I've played it, and we never play it just once. And that is an absolute remarkable feature and why I am absolutely in love with this game and highly recommend pretty much almost anything on this list. So then what's number 1? You know, again, splitting hairs here. I truth be told, could have had any of these top 3 at 1, 2, or 3, but we're going to give the edge to Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. I wasn't expecting, again, great things. Seven Wonders Duel is well thought of. And when the hype came out for this, it was like, this is better than It's not better than Seven Wonders. It is better than Seven Wonders Duel. And the ability to not necessarily win the game, but potentially almost lose the game in round 1 creates tension that wasn't there originally. The ability to win it in multiple different ways as early as potentially round 2 if you're really, really pushing or not paying attention, or just having things go extremely well is incredible. I don't think that theme makes games. Gameplay mechanics always triumph, period. However, a well-engaged theme takes it and just makes it over the top even better. And that's what this does. That's what Seven Wonders Duel lacked. Just the dryness of that thematic interaction on the table. It's weird to say a little slide rule ring wraith is the make it or break it immersion for this game, but just the nuance and the attention to detail with that makes it, I guess, right, my game of the year for 2024. There you go. Wasn't kidding. Short and sweet. What do you think? 1 through 10. My thoughts, my comments, my questions, and my concerns, and my praises. So there you go. You like this? Subscribe. Help me. Help you. Tune in. I have a Patreon and whatever else, man. Have a great freaking 2025, because I have a feeling 2025 is also going to be freaking ecstatically good. So thanks for watching. Stay classy. Peace out.